Good afternoon and welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Regents of Del Mar College, convening at 1 p.m. on Tuesday, September 11th in the Eisenstein Boardroom. We do have a quorum, so I'll call the meeting to order. And if we could, let's begin with a moment of silence, particularly appropriate on today, September 11th. Thank you. Ed, would you lead us in the pledge? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join us as together we recite, probably from memory by this point in time, the mission statement of Del Mar College. Del Mar College provides access to quality education, workforce preparation, and lifelong learning for student and community success. Thank you. As a reminder, Del Mar College is streaming the live audio and video from the official Board of Regents meetings on the college's website in real time, with the exceptions of portions of the meetings considered as closed session by statute. And also another reminder to turn off your cell phones or mute them so that they don't disturb the meeting. We're going to begin, as usual, with our recognitions, and I believe first up is Mr. Raul Garcia. Bless you.
Yes, good afternoon, Chair Campbell, Mr. President, and members of the board. I want to present to you the Certificate of Achievement of Award. It's an award that defines this high level of standards in our financial reporting. And there's a lot of time and effort that's put into creating and developing this report. So I'm gonna borrow from a proverb, an African proverb that says, "It takes a village to raise a child." Well, in this particular case, it takes a team, a financial team, to develop a CAFR and a PAFR, and then get a high standard award from the GFOA, Government Financial Officers Award.
And it's my pleasure to represent my team, who chooses not to come down and take a bow, but they are really the ones who put together the popular annual financial report, which is normally considered an annual report that is more the slice that the general public is likely to care about, that has the photographs and the pretty graphs and things like that. A little less technical, a little top of the waves rather than the very deep dive of the certified annual financial plan. But they work together, working off the same data, and we'll be working on the next edition of both before too long. So this is what the certificate looks like, and then we get a little medallion to put on a plaque that's in our individual offices, one for each publication.
Special thanks to Lenora Keys, who provided the leadership in developing this report, and then John Johnson, as well as Kathy West, for modeling the report and putting it all together.
Great. Thank you, Team Popular. Next, Dr. Beth Lewis is going to do a faculty recognition.
Thank you. It seems appropriate on the 17th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks to recognize a dedicated first responder, Melissa Steve, DMC's Program Director and Assistant Professor of Emergency Medical Services. The National Registry of Emergency Medical Technicians has invited Melissa to participate in the Paramedic Item Writing Panel, November 7th through 9th, 2018 in Columbus, Ohio. Her input as a subject matter expert is critical in the exam writing process for national EMS certification. As an exam item writer, she will draft questions based on a list of tasks provided from the current exam, then join other selected members at the national office to review all content prepared by the panel. Their work will become part of the National Registry Certification Exam, which is recognized in every state in the U.S. 46 states, including Texas, use the exam as a basis for licensure. Please help me congratulate Melissa for selection of participation in the National EMS Certification process.
I just want to thank everybody from Del Mar College that supported me in this and will support me further on. I think this is going to be a great opportunity for our program to be able to write items and also give us a basis of how they write their questions. And so it will help develop our program a little bit more and help our students pass their exams on the first try. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. One more. While you're up there, Melissa is the incoming chair of the faculty council.
Correct.
Since you're up there, I want to go ahead and recognize her for that. So she's an incoming chair. We'll be working together, and you'll be seeing her at board meetings pretty regularly, I suspect. So thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving into staff reports, the first one up is review of professional services contracts. Tammy McDonald.
Good afternoon. As we do so in the past, about every 6 months, we bring a list of professional service contracts to the board, and we've kept it in the format as we move forward, which it tells you the type of contract, and then it gives you the name of the entity that has the contract. It provides you with when the contract was put in place and the maximum date that the contract would be in effect. So many of the contracts may have a term of 1 or 2 or 3 years, but many of them also have the ability within the contract to extend it for 1, 2, 3 year extension. So it will give you that bit of information too. And then it gives you, I guess you can say, like an end of life of the contract date, or is it a term contract, which means stays in effect until one of the parties terminates the contract. It also provides you with a little bit about the contract amount and then which exec team member holds that responsibility over the management of that contract.
Would you mind going through those and highlight any that have changed since the last time we looked at this, either new additions or may have been automatically rolled over for auto renewal?
Well, some of them are auto, it's just we've exercised extensions on
That'd be fine.
several
Yeah,
of
but
them
I think
now.
it's good for
So
us
we've
to just-
exercised extensions on Weaver, which I'm on the first page. Is this your first page? Yes. And on Collier Johnson Woods, and on Estrada Hinojosa, and also McCall. Patterson is a term, so it stays in effect until we terminate that contract. And then on Wells Fargo. So those we did exercise an extension.
And then any new ones?
There are no new ones on this particular section, no.
So what about Gensler? Is that,
That's in another section. There's multiple sections, yes, sir. There's
saying-
multiple sections on, yeah, this is just one area. It's legal, financial, and then general facilities is this particular page. And if we go to the next page, that should be titled Bond, 2014 Bond Contracts. And then it has the same type of information, who the contract is with, the type of contract, when the contract went into effect, and then how long the term is for that contract. And as far as the 14 bond, there are no new ones. These are just our existing ones that are in effect right now. And if, you know, a lot of them, the project date or the life of the project is pretty much the contract date, the end of the contract date on all of these. So I think that entire page is to do with 2014 bond. Okay. Then the next page that will come up, the first section is the 2016 bond contracts, and that's where you'll see Gensler, Turner, Ramirez, and then it has the same information for their contract.
and that's the section that obviously will grow as we start
Yes.
issuing more contracts and things.
Yes, sir. And the next section, the construction restoration, we don't have anything right now because that is where we put typically non-bond related contracts. We had one that came off. We had a particular project that we had to finish out, I believe, in the vendors building. That project was completed, so that contract came off because it was end of project completion is when the contract expired. So it came off this time. In our next section, board and insurance, we did use our extension for this contract. It renewed May 1st. That's for our property and casualty insurance. And then your next section is campus services. So that would be our custodial contract, the grounds contract, our book company, and then security contracts.
On contracts like that, where they have an automatic, well, they've got, for example, the first couple, GCA, Maldonado, even Texas Book Company, they all have so many primary years plus how many extensions. The extensions are not automatic, is that correct? They're at the discretion of the college management? Is that
Yes,
correct? They just don't
some-
come back
yes.
to us for approval.
No, they don't. You've already approved the contract, and the contract has those extensions that are allowed within the contract, which you've already approved at the beginning. So then, yes, it is up to college administration if we're going to exercise those extensions. Some of the contracts may say, you will extend in writing. Some of them just say they're extended unless either party notifies within so many days that we're not going to extend.
And that allows you, if something is degraded in terms of service or levels or responsiveness, to decide as a manager group that you don't want to renew them.
Yes.
Under campus services, are there any concerns with either one of these three? Custodial, or the landscaping, or the bookstore? Everything's okay?
Anything serious, you wouldn't be hearing about it here, probably. It'd be
Okay.
Yeah. Microphone. Okay, good. Any other questions for Tammy? Great, thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
Next up, Dr. Lewis is going to go over our SACS reaffirmation and QEP update. It's a mouthful, isn't it?
Thank you. All right. Okay, so as I've told you before, we are the class of 2021, but as I've also reminded you, our compliance is due March 2nd, 2020, which is a mere 538 days from today, or as I like to call it, 537 sleepless nights from today. Our QEP will be due 6 weeks in advance of our on-site peer review. Our peer review is going to take, that's the on-site visit. That'll take place between September 15th and November 14th of 2020. We'll get to tell them when we want them to come, but we know it won't be before September 15th and it won't come after November 14th. QEP will be due 6 weeks in advance of that. Then we'll do a response to the visit report if necessary, which will be due in April of 2021. And then, as a reminder, the SACS board reviews the peer review reports and makes their decision regarding reaffirmation in June of 2021, and then it's announced at the annual meeting in December of 2021. So just to remind you of what the timeline is. In the midst of all this, I'll also be writing a substantive change report for the Southside campus. Anytime you do a significant change from what you have, and certainly building a new campus is a significant change from the current situation, it requires a substantive change. So we'll be doing that in the midst of all of this. Okay, so the shaded out yellow is what we're doing right now. And as a reminder, this past summer, we convened our steering committee. We've got our members oriented to the timeline, the process, the product. We chose a QEP director. It's Dr. Dale Anderson, our assistant professor of speech. He is amazing, and we couldn't ask for anyone better to lead that project. I'll talk more about QEP in just a moment. And what we're working on right now is we're calling this our cleanup semester. So all of the things that, maybe we've got a policy that says this in one place and it got changed, and there were a couple of sentences in another policy that didn't get changed. We've got to make sure that those things match. So this is our cleanup semester where we're rectifying all of what we're calling urgent issues. This fall at the annual meeting, our leadership team for SACS will be attending, and there is required training for the class of 2021, and we'll be going to that. And then all of next year, we'll be writing the documents, we'll be collecting our evidence, and we'll be working on our QEP. So let me talk a little bit about QEP.
Can we go back just a second?
Yes.
Question on the prior page. Backwards, if you could. Thank you. So for the fall 2018, I assume what comes with that is you've either kept a list of things that need to be changed, or you're auditing things, or you're, do we not change things as we find out about them throughout the years? And so,
We do, and anytime we bring a policy change to you, it's in line of this. It's something that is, you don't know that it's out of compliance till you start looking for it, because we have so many different policies, we have so many different procedures. Something as simple as, I'll use myself as an example. My office has 5 different titles in the policy manual. In some places, it's called the Vice President of Instruction. In some, it's Vice President of Instruction and Student Affairs. In some, it's the Chief Academic Officer. And so a lot of that kind of cleanup. And Ms. McDonald brought that forward at last month's meeting. It's also things like, let's make sure that we are in alignment with the new standards.
That's it right there.
And
That's what I was just gonna
remember that SACS has new standards now. They have redone what the standards are. And yes, we may have been in compliance before, but there are new standards now, and there may be something that is lacking. Not that we're out of compliance, but that we're lacking those couple of sentences in a policy or in a procedure.
So I think it's, you've answered the question. If you know about changes, you fix them as you go along. This
Yes,
is more
sir.
about focusing on the identified, an audit, so to speak, of anything that's new or changed and then fixing them.
Yes.
And the other part of that story is we are for the first time completing a 10-year report on the heels of the first 5-year report that we've ever completed. So we're learning how to do that too. And so, you know, there are a lot of firsts out there. And then yes, the commission is constantly approving and reapproving and refining standards on a regular basis. And depending on the classes that get locked in with those standards, it's a matter of staying in sync with them, which is what we're talking about today, and tying into the new way of doing business.
Right.
And anything that was identified from that 5-year report, either internally or upon their SACS review, that's already been fixed, I
Yes,
would
sir.
assume by
Oh,
this
yeah,
point.
we
Yes.
came away with no recommendations for that. So we're building upon that foundation.
Okay, great, thank you.
So Quality Enhancement Plan, QEP, let me remind you a couple of things. It's the key component of reaffirmation. It does result in a standalone document. It focuses on an issue that faces the entire institution. Previous QEPs, the focus from SACS has been on sort of environmental issues, larger kinds of things. Now it is specifically student success. So prior to this, it could have been something like,
It was developmental math for us before, the first time we did the QEP.
yes. And now we are still looking at our topic. I'll talk more about that in just a second. And of course, the QEP is reviewed by the on-site committee, as I said earlier. So a couple of the core elements of the QEP. It is part of that comprehensive planning and evaluation process. And I've got strategic plan here written because we'll be talking more about this with the strategic plan and how does that influence the QEP and how does the QEP influence the strategic plan. We'll be talking about that at our retreat on Friday. It has to have that improvement to student learning and student success. It has to be broad-based in its support and its impact, and the institution has to have the capacity to implement and assess the plan. So here's where we are in the process of QEP. Again, the beiged out is what we're doing right now. So right now, the QEP team is looking at different topics. They're soliciting ideas for different topics. That topic will be chosen and announced early next year, January or February. And then we go into the development of it. Okay, so we have the topic, and now what? Now we look at the development committee being formed. We research, we develop the plan from the topic. What is it that we're hoping to accomplish? Have a draft out for feedback in March of 2020, and then sent to the on-site committee in summer of 2020. They do their assessment, and then we implement and get the approval. So that's the process on that.
Okay, QEP stands for?
Quality Enhancement Plan.
Yeah.
Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
So the selection of the topic, so it's within the broad category of student success. What are the opportunities for student input? Obviously, through the committee, there's faculty input, for community input. Let's talk a little bit more about that selection committee and that process. I don't understand how you take this broad 2-word phrase that can mean everything and come in on a topic.
We do have a mechanism for that. Dr. Anderson does plan to do focus groups with students. We're working with Dr. Silva and student government also to make sure that student groups are represented in that discussion. What is it that they feel like we could do better in? What is it that they want more opportunity to have? So we're incorporating their voice into it as well.
And
It is-
what their challenges are. I would think that the discussion around challenges could be as unique as every student who you talk to. But how do you find the commonality in the challenges and obstacles and what we as an institution can do for those systemic challenges?
One of the things that we found when we were talking at Summer Academy with students, we had a focus group and a panel, student panel, that talked about their process in advising and in pathways and what was it like to enroll here. And was it something that was an easy and smooth process, or did you have some road bumps? And what we found is that each of them, although they had very different paths to come to Del Mar and stay in Del Mar, there were several commonalities, and that gives us a good place to start. So there are some things that they have in common.
Not that I, as an individual regent, or that the board wants to interject into that process, but I think the information that you gather from that, the discussions, the learnings, the observations, could be of great interest to us to hear some of those voices, and to hear the outcome of those discussions, because we have all been in a lot of training and a lot of sessions over the last several years talking about student success. And so understanding what our students are saying about it, good and bad, challenges, opportunities, strengths, weaknesses, the whole thing could be, I think, very enlightening for us. So if there's a way that we can absorb some of that information without interfering, I would appreciate that.
And that's a segue into my question. Dr. Skin, we've talked about this before. We've had several board members say, what's our role in this? We're governance oriented. We get that, and we don't want to be down to the details, but do we just wait till the end of the process and we find out what the report is, or is there steps in this that we participate or we get updates or feedbacks more than just a PowerPoint presentation? So at some point, whether it's today or later, it'd be nice for the board to know what's their role in this.
So typically, and again, we've only gone through one QEP, and the way the structures are set out are usually set forth that the faculty get together, and it really comes from the faculty. I mean, obviously, we're listening to the students, and it's really we're working in conjunction with the faculty to come up with our greatest needs to make that assessment. We talk about things. Of course, what we also know is when we go through our strategic planning processes, and that's what we're about to embark upon, that's where we hear the voices of the college, of the community through its elected board. And our Board of Regents will then give us that visionary perspective. The idea is then to tie all those together to the best way we can, and then to talk about it along the way, because we do have some time. And that's why we're coming to you on a more regular basis to talk about these things, to hopefully hinge all the things together, from the strategic plan to the execution of our assessments and so forth, in preparation for our reaffirmation. That's the way it works, and I think this is what I'm getting most excited about, and I can tie it to our next subject here, is I think this will be our most robust effort at strategic planning, which will permeate the entire college. And so those are our opportunities in front of us. And I don't want to steal Dr. Christina's thunder here in a little bit, but I think you'll see more where we'll be able to tie all of these conversations together.
Great, thank you. Next on the agenda, City of Corpus Christi Type A Award, Lenora Keys and Mary McQueen. The dynamic duo.
Okay, we started this project probably over a year ago, and it starts with the direction of the faculty and what is needed in different programs and technology. And what we're going to show today is I'm going to start with a little bit of what brought us to this point in receiving this award from the city and the Type A funds. We start with the Corpus Christi Regional Economic Development Board. We go to them with a proposal that is highly documented. With their approval and recommendation, we move on to the City of Corpus Christi Type A Board. We make a presentation, and they have to vote and approve. And then we go to the City Council, and we have two presentations and hearings with the City Council. And then with the full unanimous vote of the City Council, we have been awarded the $2.36 million to build our next project. And I'd like to go over, just give you an idea as to what this project will involve and how we're going to utilize these monies over the next year, really. set a stage, though, this is showing what we were able to do with part of the money from the last Type A award, which is right at $1.4 million. And one of the reasons I'm showing this picture, because it simulates from the best picture I could come up with as to what we will be building. We will be building something that looks similar to this, again, on West Campus. And this was awarded in 2015. And many of you have been over to see the glycol distillation pilot plant that we have. And this is a picture at night. And we've been very proud of this, and industry greatly supports the use of this facility. And this is the computerized control room that runs that facility. This will provide us, these funds that we're receiving now will provide us with monies for a second control room that will be in the new Workforce Development Center. In addition, I think you heard last spring where we received a donation from OSI Soft for the software called Pi. It was valued at over $1 million, and that software is controlled out of this room on West Campus. That is an analytical software that is used in over 65% of your refineries today worldwide, and it analyzes the flow of any liquid that goes through any industrial plant. And so this donation was really huge for our curriculum and how we're going to be able to use it in the future. And all this is going to be tied together with this new donation and the new technology that we're going to be building. This is a picture of the Workforce Development Center that is presently under construction over on West Campus. We're very proud of it. And the building at the top is, a picture of rendering of what it will look like when it's finished. At the bottom, I wanted to show this because right now, this is the existing pilot plant and it would, of course, have that big column and everything that I was showing. What we're going to be able to do with these funds that are coming from the Type A board is to continue to extend this on out way beyond this picture so that it basically triples the space that you're seeing right now as far as outside learning. We call them labs, but they're really simulation units, and I'll go into in a minute as to what those units will involve. This is the FLATO building right now, and of course this is the new building that is under construction and is our new Workforce Development Center. Your second control room will be right here in the Process Technology Lab, and you'll have controlled access only into these facilities. So we're replicating all the safety that you use actually on hands at work in industry today. And so we'll have two control rooms. The existing control room is right here, and we're going to have the second one over here. And these two control rooms will allow students to simulate everything that goes on in this technology that we're going to be building. So that kind of gives you a frame of reference as to the place and to the magnitude of what we're building. These are the programs that will be supported by this Type A award. Process Technology and Instrumentation, which are our large growth programs. Industrial machining and industrial rotating equipment, anything that turns in a plant is called, and really the term is millwright. Our millwright program is growing at the seams almost moment by moment. The students are hired out of it before they can finish. Our non-destructive testing program, your environmental petrochemical laboratory technology program, it will be moving into the new Workforce Development Center, and part of the funds out of this Type A grant will fund some of the laboratory equipment there. We will be adding 32 new welding applied technology booths into the new facility, and they also will be right adjoining this new lab that we're going to be building outside. And of course, our occupational safety and transportation safety will be located in this building. All of these programs will benefit by this Type A award because the students who are in these programs will have some access in some capacity to the learning labs that we're going to be building. This is more of a breakout as to the type of equipment that we will be buying. You're going to, for Process Technology Lab, it's going to be a hands-on chemical processing and unit operations skid. The analytical lab, you can see what we're going to have there. It will actually simulate what goes on in the oil field and all the new plants where you're taking samples of chemicals or water or anything like that. This also can field into anything that has to do with any type of an environmental situation. Then our pump transfer technology, it will be of benefit, and actually we'll be able to utilize our commercial truck driving and our big truck driving things that we have that are the tank. I'm trying to think of the tank truck that we have that actually has a loading and offloading system. We'll have a new instrument control room, which again will utilize the OSI software too, and it will be able to function out of both facilities. We're going to be building a simulated ethylene cracker unit, which will have another tower that'll be approximately 30 feet tall, and that'll have a quench column on it. The ethylene cracker simulation type is utilized in almost every type of industry, petrochemical, all the way through refineries. It's not just tied to a refinery type or a petrochemical. It's tied to almost any type of industrial facility that is being built up and down the ship channel or in San Patricio County, actually. So that type of reactor recovery process unit transfers, those same skills transfer across the board. And then, of course, our industrial process maintenance training skid. All of these units that are built outside will be on large metal skids or steel skids and will be on a cement slab with a roof, just like we have right now for the glycol distillation pilot plant that I showed you a picture of. I just showed that so you can visualize some of the magnitude and the scale of what we're talking about here and how much we greatly appreciate the support of the City of Corpus Christi and the community for those tax dollars. This shows the impact on the economy. And this is critical to us receiving this award, is that we have to demonstrate how this ties to development of the workforce and the impact on the economy. And this is just highlighting actually two programs which has to do with process and instrumentation, process technology and instrumentation, where right now we can track salaries at $62,000 to $63,000 a year. However, we know our own data is tracking some students 1 year after receiving these degrees are making well over $100,000 a year out at work. So when you take those numbers and multiply them out with the graduates that we will be able to produce, then you get the almost $1 billion in total economic impact. So you can see, yes.
I just want to understand your numbers. So your modeling is based on $62,000, $63,000.
That's right.
But our experience is that they get paid a third more than that.
That's yes.
So the direct and indirect impact could actually be a third higher.
Yes,
Okay,
that's correct.
because you're basing it on the lower number.
We're utilizing actual data that we can find that's more standardized data coming out of EMSI, Economic Modeling Institute. However, our faculty and who work with the students and track students and know of the salaries that they're getting out.
Yeah. This is a very conservative estimate.
Yes. So we go in conservatively.
And what is the EDC, what are the regional EDC numbers on the job creation? So you're saying we're going to have, we could impact up to 1,250 process and 750 instrumentation. Will that fill 100% of the need that's coming down?
No, I don't think it will. We wish it would fill 100% of the need. The number I was given last month was that there's 1,000 instrumentation jobs right now that could be filled. This is over a 5-year period in producing our graduates. I'm very proud to say that we work right now with Gulf Coast Growth Ventures, Cheniere Energy's on our West Campus today doing an orientation for to hire as soon as our graduates complete their programs. Plus the refineries up and down the ship channel. All are hiring, and as you receive not just the new jobs, but also the retirees, our young retirees, as people are retiring out, the baby boomer generation, that replacement figure is huge. So we get great support from Corpus Christi Regional Economic Development Board in recognizing what's needed in the jobs that are coming.
And the only reason I'm harping on this is I want to understand the and actually publicly make sure we have the conversation. So we're going to be providing a portion of those. We wish we could provide 100%, but the reality is if they're new graduates, you don't want 100% new graduates, rookies operating your plant anyway. You want a range of experience levels. Are most of our students do you anticipate most of our students will be in that 18 to 22 range when they start, age range when they start, or are they literally of all age ranges?
They're of all age ranges.
Okay.
And probably of comparative, this group to other programs, they're a little older.
They are.
Okay.
We have more students coming in who are military. We have many that have gotten out of the military, and they're probably in their early 30s, late 20s. Also, we have several with master's degrees. We have a couple right now who are school teachers. And I can name several with bachelor's degrees, people that have already been out in the world of work and realize that the jobs that they can get and the careers they can have with these degrees are so much higher paid and really high quality of life than they can in other career tracks. We're also attracting people from the oil field. With the downturn of the Eagle Ford Shale, it didn't take them too long to realize that these jobs that you can get in local industry is much better. The industry that's being built recognizes the benefit of hiring local, and that if they can get people who are trained, educated, and live here locally, tend to stay. And when they invest, like you just said, when they invest so much early on with an employee group, I think the apprenticeship program that Cheniere Energy is starting right now, they're doing the orientation, that what they're doing is they're inviting our students who will graduate in May from these programs to apply. Once they apply and are selected based on specific criteria, over the next year they will have the opportunity to be awarded up to $8,000. Once they graduate, then they will put them in a year's apprenticeship. Once they complete the year's apprenticeship, then they will have the opportunity to apply for a full-time job and be hired on. And so that's kind of the investment that we're seeing from industry into these programs.
I spoke to a group of, I'd say, a little over 50 students this morning at the Cheniere event orientation, and they were a wide variety of ranges of age, a range of students there, both men and women. It's glad to see that, and truthfully, more men in this case than women, but there was a fairly healthy mix there. It was the companies are getting more aggressive. And they're setting up things that have never been done before in this area that we know of, and the amounts of resources that they're putting behind investing in the quality of students is changed. Today, it kind of felt like an NFL draft. It was like they were getting all those all-pro types out there, and they were lining them up. They were interviewing them. They're gonna bring them through. They have cash incentives. They have experiential incentives and opportunities in place. And I was out there to just, I guess, be one of the cheerleaders. Pardon that visual, but going back to the draft, that's what it felt like. It was just they were wanted. They are sought after, and it's just a different day as to how they're doing business.
Well, the reason I'm bringing all this up is our mindset has been either as a community but our general mindset has been around stackable credentials and helping the young person build a lifelong learning portfolio. So maybe they start out with an associate's degree, but they can potentially go on. When the reality is, some of these folks have turned that on their head. They have the 4-year degree, or in some cases even a master's degree, and are coming now back for an applied degree, which means their opportunity to move into supervisory and management positions when they get that experience under their belt is just going to be fabulous. So I think my point in bringing all this up is that we really have to understand that there is no single profile for a student anymore on these programs. It really is all over the place.
That's right, and thank you. And I'd like to add, we do have dual credit programs in Greater Portland and a couple high schools in these areas, Ingleside. We also have continuing education programs in process technology. And so we're combining all avenues to deliver instruction, and through corporate services, they'll be utilizing these facilities too.
Ms. Keys?
Yes, ma'am.
Every time I've been over there, and it's been quite a few times in the last few months, the average age, are we talking about 27?
The average age statistically is 26, 27. However, I'm going to guess this is a little higher, 28, 30.
Okay. And, some of these very talented students are going to Houston. they're taking them to their home office. So the excitement that's going on the West Campus is absolutely amazing. I was very fortunate when I took grandson and his friend from San Antonio. I'm recruiting. Grandson already knows he's going to Arkansas, but the friend, he and mom are not agreeing, so he wanted to think about welding. Well, we went to the welding lab, and first there was one teacher there, and then there was another and then they all were it was absolutely amazing. Both of those boys came away not even realizing what welding was, and that goes for me too. And the things that they are doing with the equipment that they have, they are ready to go straight from the campus to a job. And the face of the students has changed just within the last 6 months when I first walked through there. And as a regent, I can tell you, I am so proud because I hear so much, well, economic development, remember who that is. But anyway, that there's a lot of buzz going on in the community about what these students are doing. And Del Mar is making a huge impact in this area. And we thank all of y'all for it.
Thank you for your support.
Is this the largest award we've ever received from the,
I think so.
Yes.
From the Type A board, yes. Yes. In the city of Corpus Christi. And this comes from sales tax dollars that our voters voted in, so we greatly appreciate the community support. This is just a picture of one of the machining students to give you an idea of the type of machine that is in Millwright and the quality that we have over there. I think picture tells a lot of words. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, I'm sorry. God bless you. Maybe. Yeah, there it is. There. Yeah. There you go. Okay. So this is just basically an update, an overview of the foundation. This is the wrong one. And I'm going to go ahead and go on and we'll catch up. But basically there are, yes, it is, but I embedded a video and it's not in this particular one, and I don't want you to miss the video. It should be on the top. Remember where we put it, Patrick? No, it's going to be on the desktop. Got it? Try it again. And I'm going to start dancing for you pretty quick here, just to keep you entertained.
It's when I have to start dancing that we gotta work. No, I can't.
All right. How's it working here? Yay, this is it. Okay, so basically 3 different departments under the development and foundation office. The development side of the house does the fundraising, the donor development, the stewardship, that's working with donors to make sure that we identify how they want to invest their philanthropic assets into the mission of Del Mar College and the Del Mar College Foundation. Then we have the foundation services side of it. That's scholarship administration, donor database, the financials, the asset management, grants management, where the foundation is the fiscal agent. And then finally is the grants. Our grants department that is housed with my department is pre-awarding grant development and tracking only. We don't do post-grant at this particular juncture. That's in another area. So kind of the overview, assets, and what I gave you was kind of want to give you, instead of just what they are, what they've grown, how they've grown. So I came in here in 2010. They were about 8.6 million. As of July, it is 22.2 million. So we've seen robust growth in the assets. And of course, the assets are what we can invest in. This is what we give scholarships and the grant programs that we do. In fundraising, you look at kind of not what you raised last year. You look at kind of a 5-year window, because fundraising has a tendency to do this, not unlike the stock market, right? So we look at a 5-year average. That's a better indicator of the overall health of a fundraising department. So from 2008 to 2012, the average annual fundraising over that 5-year period is 1.5 million. We're currently at 3 million. So we've doubled the ability of the Foundation and Development Office to provide funds for the types of things that Del Mar College wants to accomplish and the student scholarships. The scholarship awarding has probably been one of the most rewarding growth aspects. In 2013, we gave out slightly over $700,000 to about 770 students. And this past year, in 2018, we gave out 1.6 million to over 1,700 students. The foundation board actually has a goal to raise that up to $3 million. I don't think that's going to be next year. It's going to take a while to build it to that point, but that is one of their goals to move forward. We added a charitable estate planning initiative. We started that in January 2017. We get annual reports on that information. So December of last year, we got a report that showed 5.4 million in deferred gifts to the Del Mar College Foundation, which was a 300, almost 400% increase over what we had known on the gifts that were deferred gifts. So that's a big part, I think, of the long-term planning for making sure that you have programs that are sustainable. The grants overview, while we only do pre-granting through my office, we still try to track everything. So this shows grants under operation both with Del Mar College and with the Del Mar College Foundation, and it just gives you an idea of how many grants are under operation. So in 2016-17, 3.9 million. The next year, 5.2 million. And so far, we, by the way, the foundation's fiscal year starts July 1. So these numbers right now, since July 1, are 4.7 million under operation for the 2018-2019 year. Now, that does include that wonderful grant that we just talked about. So that was a big part of it.
So Mary, by grants under operations, you're meaning any grants that y'all facilitated bringing into the college or into the foundation?
Any grants that we know of. We're trying to make sure all grants go through, and we track every single grant.
What I'm trying to understand is, let's say someone in a department in the college writes their own grant. That's not included in this number.
Yes, it is, because they all have to go through the grants office. They don't all have to go through the foundation. They all have to go through the grants office.
I would just be curious next time to see these numbers broken out, because I think it's, right now they're blurred out. So you're seeing two separate
Yes.
activities blurred into one number.
Yes, because all of them, and I can absolutely do that.
Yeah.
The federal and state grants basically go through, most of those go through the college, and the corporate and foundation grants. So for instance, the Type A grant, that's a corporate foundation grant that goes through the foundation.
Right.
Your Title IV, Title V, a lot of those are going to be state and federal grants. We do have them broken out. I wanted to give you a high-level overview, and we do break them out because my board likes to see them broken out differently also. They also want to see what's the college fiscal agent on and what is the foundation fiscal agent on, and then we work up
those different, depending on what you want to see.
The Pell Grants don't go through there. do they?
Pell Grants do not. They don't go through any granting process. That's a federal, state thing that they actually give the money straight to the college for the students. Just
Mary?
an idea, yes.
Going back to the scholarship awarding, those amounts, is that all from the endowment, or is that a combination of endowment and annual giving
That's
to
gonna be
scholarships?
a combination of the three different things. It's going to be the endowed funds. Those are the endowed ones where they're invested, and we give the awards off the endowed scholarships. They're direct scholarships. Some donors prefer to give money directly and say, give this money out within this time period. And so we allocate according to their preference. And then there are also what we call designated grants in there. Those are other organizations that say, please give this grant to this particular student. All of those are also administered by our office, so we do all the due diligence, get it into the student's account, and then do the follow-up to make sure that the student is continuing to meet the criteria before they get the second portion of the grant.
Right. So I noticed that the sort of the average on these is just under $1,000. Is that sort of the average award, or do you have like a big range of awards?
There is a range. There are some scholarships that are $2,000 a year. We have scholarships that are $5,000 a year. The foundation generally targets around a $2,000 scholarship, $1,000 in the fall, $1,000 in the spring. But that may mean that student, in order to get that amount, may have one or they may have three scholarships, and then we pair them up. But not everybody obviously gets the same amount. It also depends on what their financial need is. If it's financial need based, the students, that is determined by the FAFSA. So if they've filled out the FAFSA, they're getting the Pell Grant, and they have no financial need, even though they qualify for a scholarship, we don't give them one, because if we give a student who has a Pell Grant already and no financial need, then they have to give back some of the money to the federal government. So we track all of that with every single scholarship we award to make sure that decisions we make do not negatively impact the students.
Ms. Mary, what happens to a student if he graduates and there's still scholarship money left in his account? Do you transfer it to the university?
No.
So what happens to that money?
This is only for Del Mar College students. Their monies are, if they have money in that, I'm trying to figure out how to answer this without getting into too much of the details and getting it confused. At the end of the day, if a student gets a scholarship and that scholarship is paid for all of their tuition, books, and everything, and then they have money left over for that semester at the end of the census day, then the balance in their scholarship goes on their card. Goes on their, what's the name of the card these days?
Basically, they get it in their account.
It goes to their account, and they can use a credit card of that account and pay for it.
But if they graduate, let's say, earlier than they thought.
Right, and there's still
drop out
money.
and don't go that next
Follow them,
semester.
and we re-award it to someone else.
So it's not paid until they're in that semester. And
So it wouldn't follow them. Let's say that this person wants to go to the university,
No,
A&M
it
Corpus
does not
Christi.
follow them.
There's money there left over.
Right.
It doesn't follow them.
No. Because all of our donors give money for student scholarships at Del Mar College.
Okay.
So that's what they're giving it for. So we have donor agreements with each one of our scholarship individuals, our donors, and that's what their agreement is. They want the money for the students here at Del Mar College. Okay.
Thank you.
Good question. So these are just some of the projects. Obviously, we did the pilot, the glycol distillation plant. That was a grant that the foundation had developed in conjunction working with Lenora's group. That was almost 1.4 million. Then the current one is 2.356 million. Transportation training was another type A grant that we did, $750,000, and that provided the simulation training and the mobile training units for transportation training. We also have an annual grant with Texas Mutual Safety Training. They give us $100,000 a year, and corporate services and continuing education kind of split that money. And they do OSHA training and they do corporate training, and it's all about making the workplace safer. And we've been really, really blessed to have this corporate partner. A couple of years ago, we got a significant grant, $125,000 for the Bridge Loan Program. So now the foundation is providing loans to students, no cost, no fee loans. These are particularly to students who they were late in applying for their financial aid. So financial aid doesn't come in time to pay their tuition and fees when they're due, and they can get a loan from the foundation. It will pay for their tuition and fees. They get to keep their classroom schedule, and as soon as their financial aid comes in, then they pay back the loan. We actually we make that work for them as seamlessly as we can. If, and it does happen, that a student is going to get, they think they're going to get financial aid and then something happens and they lose it, then we work with the student to do a payback on that loan program. The idea behind the bridge loan is that this would be self-sustaining. So as students pay back their loans, then we have more money to give another student in need those loans. So it's another loan program. The college has a loan program also.
Mary?
Yes.
That particular loan program, does that only pay for their classroom or?
Only pays for their tuition and fees.
Okay, so if something other happened to them, like, okay, my car broke down totally, I just need $100 for a week.
We have emergency loans that we do on that also. It doesn't come out of this particular fund. So we have emergency scholarships. We usually put aside a certain amount of money. The foundation board decides how much per year they're going to put aside for emergency scholarships. And those are a separate application system that we take in all year long. We also have emergency loans. Those people have short-term needs that may not be associated with their school.
But if they can't come, it will.
Yes. And so that's a paper application. They have to tell us why they need it, and then we set up the repay.
How do they know that this is available to them?
It's on the website, but I will tell you probably the best way students know it's available, these types of things, is the faculty. When the faculty hear these stories quicker than anyone else. And when a faculty member knows about these programs, they can tell the student, and the student can come to the foundation office.
What kind of percentage? Now, is this a payback loan?
Any loan is supposedly a payback, even emergency loans.
And what is the percentage of the kids that are paying back that loan?
It's constantly changing depending on what's in there. I'd have to pick a point in time and give you an average.
That's fine.
That's a good question. The Harvey Relief Funding, that obviously started about a year ago. We actually raised about $240,000. The first grants were literally just grants. A student needed, and we had to top them out. There was so much need. We topped them out at $500, and a student needed $500 to pay for repairs on their car so they get back forth to class, or pay for repair on their window, or whatever. We didn't care. You show us that you have a need, and then we've given out 280 of those grants. First semester, it was strictly, what do you need to get your life back together? The next semester, it was more, okay, what do you need to do to get your education back on track? So the second semester, it was more scholarships. And so we are in the process of paying down the rest of these scholarships to make sure people can get it back on track after Harvey. We do, obviously we do a lot of different initiatives, but we have 3 special events each year. That's probably the most of what you hear from me when I come in and I tell you about what we've done on the special events. But Over the Edge is coming up. It is October 19th and 20th. Our goal is $100,000. This one is rappelling over the side of a building. You have to raise $1,000 in order to have the right to go over the edge.
The president will be going over the edge. We have a couple of trustees who have signed up. Carol has signed up. In fact, Carol and Mark have signed up. It's a very, very fun event. This is our second year. I am so incredibly proud of the foundation board because when I came with this very unique fundraiser, they didn't run screaming for the hills. They actually said, absolutely, this is as unique as Del Mar College. This makes sense. So this is a real fun little video we created last year. This was actually held one. No, don't do that. There we go. Huh? We actually put it, because it's too long for PSA on TV, we put it on our website and some of those other things, and we actually, it's on YouTube. And we've had it. We created that the first year that we did Over the Edge, it was 1 month after Harvey. And the board, the company actually came to us and said, do you want to postpone this? And I'm so proud of the foundation board because they said, they listened and we talked through it and we decided, no, we want to go ahead and do this because the first year is always the most challenging for a new event, and this one is more difficult to explain and have people not gasping. And so by doing this video, we were able to get Flint Hills as our title sponsor this year. So that was the reason, even though we knew it wasn't going to be full and we weren't going to raise as much money last year, what we needed to do was do just what we did, that video, to take it out and show people how much fun this is. So this will be our second year. Bernie's Famous Crawfish Boil, we have been doing that for over 10 years. Our goal is $135,000. It will be March 28th for 2019. This is another fun event, all you can eat crawfish and a silent auction. And it's a lot of fun. We have students there that testimony to the individuals that come about the importance of scholarships, and all of our fundraisers do raise money for scholarships. And our last is Stringers for Scholarships. That's our fishing tournament. It will be June 7th and 8th in 2019. The goal is $55,000. And right down here you will see these are trophies created by our welding department. This is the second year our welding department has created these trophies. I meant to bring one because they're so impressive, but they designed them. They cut them out on their the plasma cutter, and then they weld them together. They are really amazing. They are really amazing. In fact, we've had a couple of, at least one company that says, would your welding department do those for our fishing tournament? So it's a really another piece that makes us very unique. And that's it. Any questions?
I do. I think, guys, the numbers are astounding. When you think about assets in 3 years have almost tripled, in 8 years have almost tripled, the annual rate of what you're collecting, fundraising is doubled in almost 5 years. The scholarships in 5 years of both numbers and dollars have almost doubled. That's just phenomenal. Do we have any way to benchmark how we're doing compared to other foundations, particularly community college foundations. I know that foundations vary widely. Not all colleges have them. Some of them probably do a little better, but seems like it would enhance even how well we've done when we can say, yeah, you know, we talked often about doing benchmarks and dashboards and things like that. How do we know, how do we stack up compared to others? That's what would be also nice to know.
I am actually chairing the TACCF 2019 conference. That's the Texas Association of Community College Foundations. And we've invited Bill Crow, who does that benchmarking for all community colleges across the nation. So he's going to give us an update on that. I will tell you that 2015, 16, and I think 17, Del Mar College Foundation was in the top 10% in the nation, both in terms of assets and the 5-year average on fundraising for community colleges. There are 1,300 community colleges in the nation. I do not know if we reached that for 2018. There are a lot. Community colleges have been slow to kind of get on the fundraising bandwagon and understand the value that both the institution and the foundation has to the community. But I think they're really getting there.
So to quote Claudia Jackson, you buried the lead. You should have started with.
Well, I couldn't validate the lead for this year.
No, but last year, I mean, 10%, I mean, that's pretty good.
Top
So
10%. And the first time I told the president we were in the top 10%, he wanted to know what it was going to take to get in the top 5%. And I went, okay. I don't know yet, but I'll find out.
And that's coming from working for Bill Crow before I came here. Bill's a retired president over at Tyler Junior College, where they are in the top 3%, if I'm not mistaken, pound for pound. And I think overall in the 5% easily. And he is the one of the best fundraisers or was one of the best fundraisers in community colleges. And that's what he's made his retirement into, and studying that across the nation. So I came from there. So that's where the pressure came from, Mary.
I get it. I totally get it. We will be there.
I just want to beat Bill is really what it is.
Good questions.
Great. Any other questions for Mary?
I don't have a question. I just want to thank you and the Foundation Board. Susan is our representative on the Foundation Board, and please pass our thanks on to them, because I know that they work very hard, and we've got great leadership at the Foundation Board level, and really want to pass that on and our appreciation to them.
And your staff. You've got the best staff around ever.
We really do. I think we have the highest percentage of CFREs in my staff of any fundraising department in this community. And CFRE is Certified Fundraising Executives. I really encourage my team to get their CFRE.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Dr. Christina Wilson is going to come to the microphones and do a presentation on the upcoming board retreat regarding to strategic planning.
Good afternoon, Regents. Good to see everybody. I'm going to give you a preview of what to expect this Friday morning. Thank you for committing to spending that time with us. And as you know, the board retreat will focus on strategic planning. This process that we're about to embark on, the strategic planning process, gives us the opportunity to look ahead 5 years to 2024 and assess where are we now as an institution and where do we want to be in 5 years. And then when we get to the nitty-gritty is how are we going to get there? So where are we? What's our vision? And what are the steps we're going to take to get there? This afternoon, we've heard many wonderful things that are happening. We had comments about student success. We're really hoping that this process can help us to align and make sure that our efforts throughout the college are all meeting the common goal and impacting our student success indicators. So there's actually going to be several opportunities for you as Regents to participate in these planning activities. We do have our retreat this Friday, which the theme of it is laying the groundwork. Then there is the Association of Community Colleges Trustees, ACCT Leadership Congress, where you'll get to learn more about the trends impacting community colleges, what may be impacting Del Mar College. And then finally, we're going to have another retreat in November where we'll ask you to get into the nitty-gritty of what's happening at Del Mar College. We're going to assess our environment and then also start creating a vision for 5 years down the road.
Before you move on, Regents, just remind you, we have a number of Regents signed up to go to this conference. It's always our primary educational opportunity. And somewhere coming up in the next month or so, they will release the different breakout sessions. And what we're hoping is that we can kind of coordinate Regents to make sure this is a great time this year particularly to focus on anything related to strategic planning. Because if we can really blanket those and everyone can come back with all that information, it's going to be timely, as you see on the slide there, in terms of preparing for that next retreat. So that's kind of the goal to do. We actually have a purpose this time, hopefully a focal point in what we're going to try to do in that, taking advantage of ACCT.
Excellent. It's very timely that you all will be involved as we're getting this process started. So let me talk about Friday in particular. We are addressing and starting the strategic plan differently than we have before. For the last strategic plan, there was a board retreat where we asked you to start analyzing the environment, giving us your feedback on where we need to focus for our next plan. But before we start on that work, this time, we want to take the opportunity to lay the groundwork and understand what do strategic plans look like in community colleges. And I know that I'm sure everybody here has had experience with strategic planning, maybe in different contexts, but planning within community colleges is quite different. It plays a different role, and it can be very different at various colleges. So you may see one plan at one university or maybe another community college, and it can look quite different. So before we get started in the actual getting your hands dirty and planning for the future, we want to make sure that you feel comfortable with the framework, with the plan and the template that we're going to be using, and so you'll know how you will be involved and how our stakeholders will be involved as well. The model that we're going to be using was designed by the Society of College and University Planners, and there are many different frameworks for strategic planning, but this is the only model that's tailored for higher education. Dr. Lewis and I spent a lovely, very intensive few days this summer going through this planning model, and we've both facilitated and led strategic planning processes before, but it's very nice to know the best practice so we can get started on the right foot. So this is what we're going to be sharing with you, making sure you feel comfortable with the structure we are going to be putting into place. And the goal of this retreat is for you to be able to walk away with an answer to the question: what do effective, actionable strategic plans in community colleges look like, so it can help to inform our efforts as we build that plan for ourselves? Any questions about Friday? So let me move on to what you can expect in November. So again, laying the groundwork this Friday, and then when you come back from the conference in November, this is where we want your feedback on what are those things that Del Mar College should focus on? What are our strengths? Where may be our areas of weakness? What data do you want to see to help you make those decisions? And then, of course, looking to 2024. As Regents, you play a very important role in setting the tone for how this plan is developed, so we start with you. We will have a really robust strategic planning team, which will include stakeholders from faculty, staff, students, community members, but we want to start with the Regents to make sure that we are headed in the right direction for 2024. Okay. Overall, our timeline for development of the new plan will start now and will end in the summer of 2019 with the official approval of the plan by the Board of Regents. But to get there are quite a few steps. So we will be onboarding our strategic planning team this fall, identifying and making sure that we involve the right stakeholders. Even though we will have a robust team, that team alone isn't developing the plan. We talked about earlier the need for student voices. We'll have to make sure that students are involved, our community members, faculty, staff, so we'll need to make sure that they are engaged at the right time. Then as a whole, we'll need to analyze the environment. Again, the board will begin this process in November, but we're going to ask our stakeholders to help us with that as well. From that information in the spring, we're going to identify our strategic issues. Those are the key opportunities, and you can call them threats or to-do items that we really need to address in our strategic plan. Those are our strategic issues that will come out of the environmental analysis. From there, we'll need to determine our high-level goals and also our metrics. We've heard this from you time and time again, that KPIs are very important. We want to know how we're doing, not only as a benchmark against ourselves, but other colleges. So we'll need to determine what metrics are important to us. And then finally, the final phase of development in the summer is to develop those strategies, the how are we going to do it, what units are going to participate within the college. We need to budget the plan and then again, get your final approval. Once the plan is officially approved, then the real fun begins, implementing the plan. Of course, you set your goals, you have your metrics, but once you get started, things may change. We have to monitor and make sure we're still on track. Maybe some priorities may change. So after the fall, we will continue to provide updates and make sure that we are on track for our goals or make tweaks to our strategies if necessary. So overall, the goal of this whole year-long process is to develop a new plan that was developed with a lot of stakeholder engagement that addresses Del Mar College's strategic issues, that is tied to KPIs, and is implemented intentionally by all units of the college. And believe me, it is a complicated task. You know how much is going on all over the place in the college, and we want to make sure that we are using our efforts efficiently to meet our overall goals. Are there any questions I can answer for you regarding this Friday or strategic planning in general?
Will we have like the last strategic plan that we did, and how many of those goals we achieved, how we ended up doing from that plan, what we ended up with, did we achieve what we wanted?
Sure.
We will have that information.
We can definitely do that, and I believe Ms. Keys in the past has also provided updates based on those goals. We can provide that information to you on Friday if you'd like.
Just for comparison.
Sure.
Christina, so you're fairly new, right? And I know in the
Yes.
past, when we've gone to some of the conferences, several of us have shared information with you, Dr. Escamilla, and others about what we've seen from other colleges, actually, once they've done the strategic plan, but their dashboards and their presentations and their monitoring systems was really quite good. I don't know if that's been stored anywhere in terms of a data resource, but certainly we could maybe have Natalie re-poll the board for any of us who have our materials from prior conferences we've gone to, because there were some really good templates. If you're gathering information what's out there, it would not hurt for us to share that with you, to take advantage of, our investment in prior conferences that we've gone to.
Sure.
And some of that, Mark may have in his files, or other folks may have
This is the
too.
way that community colleges are going. Data needs to be accessible, needs to be easy to understand, and needs to be tied to these goals. So I'm sure there's many different models out there. If there's any in particular that you like, please feel free
And
to
I
share
should
them.
clarify slightly, what we're looking at is particularly the examples we would see at a conference is what comes to the board. And what made me think of it was what Gabe said. I mean, we see these things get really excited, like, yeah, we've got lots of stuff, but sometimes we overdata the board versus talking at a really strategic high level.
Yes. Oh, yes. We have a lot of data, and we want you to know it all. But sometimes it can be quite overwhelming, and you can't see the big picture. You can't see where the needle is moving. I
Right.
completely understand.
Right, okay.
We think you'll see the beginnings of that, again, talking about the frameworks this Friday. And I think there we'll be looking for your feedback about the frameworks and the development and the KPIs. But I think you'll find some familiar information at this next meeting. But certainly, if you have anything, we'll dig some things out to serve as a historical reference, or just a future reference anyway, to see how we develop this plan ultimately. I think I'll let you finish.
I think that's it, Dr. Escamilla. Was there anything else you wanted to
The only other thing was, in the timeline that we had up here was there was the September meeting, and then there was the November meeting that you all will be, that we'll have actual formal retreats on. That's not an exhaustive list. So there'll be plenty other times where we'll be both at the workshop level, staff report level, and we could easily put together and prepare for another retreat to take a deeper dive. into all this. So all of that's still on the table, yeah. So it goes well past November with the opportunities to sit here and really, really turn this out. Again, we're looking forward to the most robust planning venture we've ever taken here at the college.
I'm excited.
Great.
It'll be fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, August Alfonso is going to give us an update on the 2016 bond program.
Yeah, good afternoon. The purpose of the staff report is to provide the board with a project update on the Southside Campus bond program. We have two consultant guests with us. We have Philip Ramirez, who's in the audience, a member of the Gensler TR design team, and also Scott Mears, president of AGCM, the college's construction project management team, who is here to present to you a calendar schedule for the Southside Campus. Thank you.
Great. Thank you and good afternoon. I'm pleased to be here to provide the brief update on the calendar of activity for Bond 2016. We'll take it in three parts: where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. As you might recall, it kicked off with the design team on June the 5th, and there were a series of steering committee and user group meetings that culminated on August the 14th with the presentation for acceptance of the Phase 1A Master Plan. And just so we get an opportunity to look at the great drawings again, this was the perspective of the Phase 1A Master Plan from Yorktown. This is an aerial that shows the components of the four buildings. A is the main library and the main building, B is the STEM, C culinary arts, and D is the central plant. So what's happened since August the 14th? As you can see, there have been ongoing steering committee meetings and user group meetings. And what's important is on October the 9th, the board will have an opportunity to accept two separate items. One is the schematic design for the Phase 1A master plan, and separately is the master plan for the campus in its entirety. After the 9th of October, there will be continued effort in the development of the drawings into design development phase, which will be presented to the board for acceptance on February the 12th. So October the 9th, February the 12th are two big board meeting days for acceptance of various items related to the Bond 2016 program.
Scott, go back. Excuse me, go back for just a second, Scott. On that one, so the next week is, of course, our schematic design work sessions that's happening with the board. And then in November 13th, and it says design development work sessions, are you anticipating the same thing there? There'll be some small groups with the Regents to work through that? Is that what that is?
Yes, I'll let Philip answer a little bit more in detail on that, but I think that's the plan.
Yes, I believe that's the intent, Mr. Chairman.
Somewhere around the 13th, great. And then it says December 4th and 5th. Well, maybe that's what I'm confused. There's a November 13th design development work session, and then there's a December 4th and 5th design development work session. What's the difference in those two?
I'm sorry, say that again?
So it's hard to see there because it's not blown up very big. On November 13th, it says design development work session.
Oh, right.
Then on December 4th and 5th, it says design development work session. What's the difference in those two dates?
I think that there's the first one is with the steering committee itself, individual to that, and then I think the second.
Oh, the user groups, but it's the steering committee again on the 4th and 5th.
Yes,
So
but
user groups.
we're regularly meeting with the steering committee, which is comprised of obviously the steering committee of the executive team, kind of, and some key users there, and then we are kind of as a formality. When we present to the user groups or involve the user groups again, we are typically meeting with them again to kind of prep them for those meetings. Mr. Chairman.
And the user group is the Board of Regents.
No, the user groups are the actual user groups for the different departments that are going to be represented in the campus.
So on September,
I think the smaller groups that are not necessarily represented
So
in
this is where it's
calendar.
confusing. On September 18th and 19th, you have user groups, and that's our board meetings.
In September.
Next week.
That's correct.
Right.
That's
Small,
correct, yeah.
okay.
I don't think those are reflected in this timeline.
No, but a user group is used twice. So where I'm getting at is, would the board need to hold us dates in December to meet? Are we going to be involved in the design development?
I believe so, yes, y'all
So
will
should
have
we
it.
start holding the dates of the 4th and 5th of December? That's what I'm getting at.
As far as those timeframes and the actual dates themselves, I think we've got to get with the steering committee to
Okay.
identify those. so they can
Just
get
to
on their
remind you,
calendar.
and I know Natalie's our coordinating point, that sooner's better. Schedules get really hectic as we get into the holidays.
Understood.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, the answer is yes, and waiting for Gensler to schedule that either early December, or early January.
Right.
And also late October.
Yes. Late October, October 18 and 19 is already scheduled. So we have one more, September, we have one more that Natalie is going to schedule.
okay. Lots of stuff moving. This almost feels like August again. Not you, August, but August the month, right? Where we had a bunch of budget meetings, and already we have potentially 3 people out Friday for the strategic retreat, so we may not have a quorum. We find out today, because it's not on the calendar, there's a strategic retreat on November 9th. Now we've got all these. Just please schedule them as soon as you can and commit to them, just so we can get them on our
Duly
calendars.
noted, yes, sir.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, even if it's tentative. You've got a bunch of people that bill by the hour, have patience, have all this other stuff, so we really need to be sensitive to their calendars. So. Other comments or questions? Great. Short and sweet and good presentation, thanks.
Thank you, guys.
That moves us into the college president's report.
And I will stay on that theme of short and sweet. So August 17th, summer graduation was a great event held at the Richardson, thank you, gentlemen, held at the Richardson Auditorium. Michelle Unda from New Star, our very own alum and New Star rising star at New Star. To the executive ranks anyway, was our keynote speaker, did a great job and spoke from the heart and did a great job engaging our students. It was a nice-sized summer class. I don't have those final numbers to present, but it was a great graduation nonetheless. Just a little side note, I don't know if we're going to continue. We continue to stress out the space there. We may be looking at other venues, and that may have been one of the last summer graduations at the Richardson. A lot of things going on there. Anyway, and on August 20th, we kicked off the year with Convocation. Thank you all for the Regents who were able to attend. We missed those who weren't, but it was another great kickoff to the fall. I spent some time talking to the faculty and staff about what to expect, and it's a lot. I think the reason I put this on here was because a lot of the themes that we talked about at Convocation are the themes that we're talking about here. So we're making sure that we're tying all these conversations together and making sure that everybody's on the same page with the big agenda, if you will, that we have for this next academic year. Then a couple days later, on August 27th, there was a big press release and press opportunity in San Patricio County at Gregory Portland High School's welding laboratory, which we help actually build for the school. And Gulf Coast Growth Ventures was there to announce their first $100,000 donation to the San Patricio County Consortium, of which we are the fiscal fiscal agent for that organization. That was $100,000 given that would be divided across the board to the 7 school districts in San Patricio County according to enrollment and their relative size amongst the 7. And so we know that was the first of some monies out there, let's just say. We have rumors that there's more resources behind that'll be used to benefit the schools out there. I want to thank Lenora Keys for putting that together amongst all the other things that you've been doing. But establishing that consortium is very, very innovative, and I know we have people from across the state that are looking to replicate that very thing. The students from San Patricio County will greatly benefit from that, and thanks to Gulf Coast Growth Ventures for their very generous donation of $100,000. That concludes my report, and I'll answer any questions.
Any questions for Dr. Escamilla? I like those 2 words, $100,000 in first. Looking forward to second. That'll be nice. Regents, next is pending business. You see that we have several items on today's calendar. October quarterly financial and investment reports, internal audit updates. November the tax abatement, the Cleary data, and foundation, a yearly update, and moving on to the next year. Any questions or requests regarding any of the pending items? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move into the consent agenda. There are three sets of items, 3 items on the consent agenda: the approval of the minutes for the regular board meeting of June 12th, the called meeting for August 6th, the workshop for August 14th, the regular board meeting of August 14th. Number 2, the acceptance of the investments for August 2018. Number 3, the acceptance of the financial statements for July 2018. Do we have any regent that would like to take any one of these items off consent? Hearing none, do we have a motion for consent?
Move to approve.
Second. Do we have any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. I believe it was Mary. Thank you. Moving into the regular agenda, item number 4, discussion and possible action related to the adoption of the state and federal legislative agenda. Claudia Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do want to compliment the executive team and the regents who have been involved in making sure that we were staying on track with this. Those of you who've been with us for a couple of different legislative sessions know that there have been years when we might not have looked at our legislative agendas until October or November, and sometimes even snub up against the beginning of the session. So I think we're doing a really good job this time of making sure we were on track. The proposals that you have in your packet, there are 2 of them. One of them is the state legislative for the 86th legislative session, and there's one for the 116th congressional session. And the proposals is what I want to focus your attention on. What I did take the liberty of doing, just to make sure it was a little easier to focus, is I took just the sections of this document that you have in your packet and put them into different slides so that we can talk about them individually if we choose to. But we'll do that real quickly. The core that makes this particular state legislative session even more robust, I think, than in the past is that we have 3 core organizations that have linked hands. This is the first time we've done all 3. One of them is TACC that represents the presidents and the colleges. One is CCAT that represents the trustees and the regents. And the third is the Teachers Association. So this is the first time all 3 have worked together on this. And if you'll see at the top of your proposed document, the 3 key areas are funding, dual credit, and workforce education. And if you look at the very first paragraph, when you talk about funding, the matrix is calling for an 8% increase overall total for all the 50 community colleges, or $144 million additional funding. Increase in contact hours that would be comprised of $83 million of additional funding because of the kind of enrollment growth we've had in the last 2 years, and we project in the next 2. Core funding would stay the same for all community colleges. And then the success points would be an extra $61 million. And just to remind you, success points was first adopted in the 2014-2015 legislative session. At that time, they were proposed to be paid at $185 per point. And a point might be a student finishing the first 15 hours of credit, the first 30 hours of credit, or those different benchmarks. So the first proposal was $185. What really got funded in the next session was $179. Last session, the proposal started at $162 per point. You see we're moving in the wrong direction. With a lot of work on the part of many of you and many out here in the executive team and others across the state and the associations, we were able to get that up to $173 per point before the end of last session. The proposal for this next session would be $215 per point, and that would take care of some of the deficits that we've had in the past. As far as dual credit, again, looking at the headings that you have on your document, we've realized that 30% of high school graduates, the goal is to have at least 30% of high school graduates complete at least 12 semester hours of dual credit. And that would go a long way toward making our 60 by 30 goals work for us. One of the other proposals would be that the statewide would standardize the kind of standards that Del Mar College has already implemented. And that is that when we do teach a dual credit class, we are using those SACS criteria for those faculty members. Del Mar College is doing that. I'm not sure all of the community colleges can say that. But our dual credit faculty do meet SACS criteria of having a master's degree plus 18 graduate hours in their subject field. We're also talking about extending the Texas Educational Opportunity Grants to help pay for those workforce and continuing education programs that are so vital to make sure what's happening. Which leads us into the third section of your proposal, which talks about workforce education. We would look to see an increased investment in the skills development funding and the jobs in education for Texans funding to boost those workforce training opportunities. Recent data tells us that 93% of all workforce credentials, and that in some cases that does include associate degrees, are granted by community colleges. So we know we're doing the heavy lifting, and we also know that we need the funding to back it up. Further on our Texas workforce goals, in that last bullet on your proposal, we talk about having an increased number of high school graduates who would complete those workforce credentials. We would also like to see that the small business development centers be aligned with the Texas Workforce Commission so that they are more closely aligned with the colleges. Right now, our small business development center is actually funded through UTSA, which sometimes gets a little wonky. So it seems to make sense that they would all be aligned with community colleges, since that's where the majority of those assistances are coming from. So with that, Mr. Chairman, would you like to consider the state proposal independently before I go into the couple highlights from the federal?
Is there a preference? You want them approved by both? You want the board to approve both of them correctly?
That would be our recommendation as an administration.
It might make more sense to review the other in case there's questions about how they might relate, and then we can go back. We can approve both of them, I assume, in one motion.
You bet. Okay. Then if you will look at your second proposal, and that is the two-page document. Looks kind of like this. On the federal legislative agenda, oops, there we go. Pell Grants are going to be the cornerstone. We know that year-round Pell made a difference for us this summer. We feel like it will make a bigger difference next year when people have a little more time to plan. But we also know that right now we have, or the last year we had for a full reporting, 4,680 Del Mar students used more than $15 million in Pell Grant funds, and we know that those are critical to keep as a cornerstone for the financial aid for most of our students. Making sure that we keep support for our skilled workforce preparation is important. Colleges enrollment in workforce and continuing education courses have doubled in the last 5 years. We know that that's a big part of what is happening when Lenora and Mary are going out and making these proposals to be able to partner with business and industry. And that's because we are able to actually prepare those individuals for that workforce. The other thing that we want to keep an eye on is the Texas Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act funding. Right now, there's a proposal on the going through Congress, at least being considered, to cut those funds by about 40%. So we'd want to keep a close eye on those. The Prosper Act, and if you really want to know all about let me get a running start at this. Promoting real opportunity, success, and prosperity through education reform is kind of a double-edged sword. I think that title is maybe marketers run amok, so I'll apologize for our kind, but the Prosper Act does take a little bit of look at it, because it does have both positive and negatives. One of the biggest negatives is the risk-sharing portion of it. Right now we're talking about if a student has those funds through that would be a federal loan fund, and they do not finish their program, the college could be responsible for paying back that loan at 90% of what's owed on that loan. And we don't feel like that's something that makes a lot of sense for us. We do want to make sure that we are keeping those supplemental opportunity grant funds coming our direction. We also want to make sure that we don't lose the supplemental education opportunity grants. We had 354 students who used $182,000 of those grants this past year. Oops, one more. The Prosper Act would, on the positive side, propose to do a federal data bank that would track students from institution to institution and then even into the workforce. As we're continue to be asked to talk about transparency and accountability, if we were able to know what was happening with a student once they went into the workforce as far as their ability to earn a living wage, it'd be very helpful as we go back and talk about our needs and how we're filling those needs. And then the last piece would be reauthorization of the Perkins Career and Technical Education funding. We know that we have over 1,000 students that benefited and earned degrees and certificates last year using the technical equipment and things that our Perkins funds provided, things like the mannequins in our nursing labs and things like that. So we know Perkins funds is very important. And we do want to keep an eye on what is happening with military benefits and those kind of things, because we know that Del Mar has more than $1 million worth of tuition waivers that we grant every year. We are a larger percentage of military families than other communities, and although we completely support that, we also know that there's an interest in making sure that that doesn't sink the budget, if you will. So keeping an eye on that is another issue for our federal agenda.
That $1 million, are we reimbursed by?
No, sir.
No, we just exempted.
I have a question on the military thing. I was under the impression that a much larger portion of that was a state issue, not a federal issue.
I'm going to defer to Rito on that one because he's over our student financial aid.
Hazelwood.
That the military waivers that are in place through Hazelwood and the others are more of a state issue than a federal issue.
Yes, that's correct. Hazelwood's a state grant.
Right. Yeah, so I would question why this is on the federal one instead of on the state.
It's federal funds, though.
The Hazelwood is specifically a state program, and
The waivers are a Texas issue.
yes, it's strictly Texas for Texas residency and so forth. And I think there may be a little crossing over of the two programs there, but yes, Hazelwood specifically is for Texas.
Yeah, so I
We'll have
would
to tease
question
that
this
out.
being on the federal
Let me drill
agenda.
down back into that, and I'll bring you an answer.
Okay.
Are there other questions?
I have a question, and a
Yeah.
couple of comments. On this federal legislation piece, where is the Prosper Act now? Do you know off the top of your head?
I looked at that this morning. Hold on a minute. Take me a second to find my notes. I was looking at a lot of things this morning. And I think I'm going to tell you that I didn't bring that piece down with me.
Okay.
I do know that there was some provisions that were working their way through, but we weren't anywhere close to having closure on those. And let me double check on those and get back to you.
If you can, before 5:30 today, I'm actually leaving here early to drive to Port Lavaca, and I'm going to see our congressman at a social event in Port Lavaca. So
You bet.
if there's an opportunity
I'll have it for you.
to say something of value, that'd be great.
Okay.
And the comment that I had was about the state legislative agenda, and Claudia touched on it, I think, very adequately about the three organizations that work together to make this happen. I can't speak enough about the collegial nature in which that collaboration has occurred over the last several months. Basically, as soon as the last session was over, this group was formed. We've met either on conference call or in person almost monthly since for a year and a half, better part of a year. And the Beeman Floyd with the Teachers Association, Jacob Friday and Dustin Metter with TAC, and then our representative from a staff standpoint, Dr. Rose Martinez, along with a lot of volunteers, the chancellors and presidents, Roberto Zarate from San Antonio, from the Alamo College District, and I'm vice chair of the legislative committee. And so that we have met, just had great conversations, really robust, respectful, intelligent, good feedback. I mean, the conversations have been great to get us to this point. So all three organizations, and for the faculty that are in the room or that are watching, your Teachers Association lobby is absolutely fabulous. And so I just wanted you all to know that this truly has been a collaboration. The second piece is that while these are the three priorities, and there's some specifics underneath each one of them, we also have a watch list. So you don't adopt a legislative agenda talking about what you're going to lobby against, but there's a watch list of issues and things that we are going to keep an eye on and deploy resources as necessary if there are things that would impact us negatively that we can fight against. And so just wanted you all to be aware that these are the commonalities amongst all 50 community colleges and where we're going to move forward on, but there is a pretty robust watch list as well. So I would like to make a motion to adopt both of these priorities, both the state legislative priorities and the federal one, with that potential caveat of the change on that Hazelwood language if we want to pull that out and clean that up when necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. And then we'll open up for questions because we need to do that protocol-wise. Do we have a second? Okay, now, did you have a question or a comment?
This is all great to see because it's been a long time coming. And we're providing, I realize, the workforce for a lot of communities. I'm a little distressed, well, and I have not seen the whole information, that there are not any mentions or any steps forward toward our academics, the arts, and everything else that we have in this college community. I'm sure that there are, and this is also the place where things can get biased because we are so focused on a certain program that we let some things go by. So those of you that are representing us as a board and as a state board, I would like for you to come back and give us maybe a more thorough explanation of what's really happening, and are we letting go of any of the excellence in our STEM programs and the arts? Because I have heard some things about the arts that they're not very wonderful. But I do want to know about it since I'm not there like you are.
Okay.
And
If I can talk to you offline, because I'm not sure what you're referring to, but let me.
Yeah, because on first blush, I'm not sure that would be all built into a legislative agenda. That might be more greater concerns on a college by college level. But I think we certainly visit with you and get your concerns and find out if there's something statewide. Both Dr. Escamilla and Carol can do
I
that.
just don't want things to get biased, like, oh gosh, I didn't even see that, or because it was not something that we are exactly pushing. So I don't want to lower the standard of one part of our college and the rest of it.
And certainly some of those things may be on the kind of watch list that Carol talked about. We keep in mind that when TAC comes up with this and all the various organizations, they're looking at something that you can get buy-in from all 50 community colleges. That doesn't prevent us from taking our concerns on individual issues to our legislators and try to do that, but it'd be pretty difficult to get all 50 to approve something that had some real specifics in it. Likewise, the federal is something that I think is achieved from ACCT trying to get across the board representation on. So,
if I may, I think one of those areas, Regent Messbarger, that is very, very careful about the arts and sciences and the traditional academic and associate in the arts degrees is the success points. Because I think we've had a problem with the way success points are calculated, because an individual who leaves Del Mar College and goes to work with a workforce credential before they finish a degree aren't counted as a success. So I think there is some balance there, and we certainly will keep an eye on that. And just a reminder that in any given legislative session, we review anywhere from 6,000, 7,000, sometimes 8,000 bills, and all of those, you never know which one's going to pop up and say something either for or against some program that we have to watch very carefully.
There have been some things, dual credit in math, that, well, and that goes before they get to us, so I was just concerned about that, but I know that.
And Senator, it's another good point for all the regions. If y'all hear anything specific about any area you're interested in, be sure to pass it on to Claudia, because it could be bubbling up, as Claudia said, in an individual bill or a tack-on, and then,
Yeah, and we don't hear about it until it's too late.
right.
Well, and Regent Scott, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I have the Prosper Act, a presentation from AACC I'll hand you.
Thank you.
Great. Any further discussion about the motion that's on the table regarding the approval and acceptance of the state and federal legislative agendas? We have a motion, a second. Any public comment before we vote? Please come on down. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Very quickly, my name is James Klein. I'm the president of the Del Mar College chapter of the American Association of University Professors. I'm also the president of the Texas Conference of the AEP. And in hearing talk about the Prosper Act, I thought I should mention to you that the AEP has come out diametrically opposed to the Prosper Act. We think it's going to be a huge giveaway to for-profit colleges. We have a lot of concerns about that. We don't think that language has been cleaned up as it came out of the House, went over to the Senate. So we still have those concerns yet today. Thank you.
Good feedback. Thank you. Any other public comments? Hearing none, let's do a roll call vote just to be safe on this one.
Dr. Adame?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Estrada? Yes. Ms. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Mr. McCampbell?
Yes.
Ms. Messbarger?
Yes.
Mr. Rivas?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Dr. Sherwood? Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We're moving into a very important time every 2 years when it's legislative. We have to stay on top of it. So thank you, Claudia, and to your team for what you're doing. Item number 5, discussion and possible action regarding board approval to move forward with revisions to all B policies of the college's manual of policies and procedures with the appropriate personnel title and/or designation. Welcome back to the podium, Tammy.
Good afternoon. This ties in a little bit earlier what Dr. Lewis was talking about on doing some cleanup and some of our policies as we move forward with SACS. It doesn't mean we're not in compliance. It's just we needed to clean up some things. So this ties together with that. So in order to clarify personnel that have certain responsibilities that are stated in board policy and administrative policies in our policy of manual policies and procedures, it's necessary to revise personnel titles and or designations in a large number of our policies. So to complete this in an efficient and timely manner, I'm asking for the board, I'm requesting that the board provide a blanket approval to move forward with this, making the necessary revisions to board policy as deemed necessary. So this one is an action item. And then I'm notifying the board that such revisions will be made to all effective administrative policies as deemed necessary. So this is my notification. So, we have so many policies, and instead of bringing every one of them to you, administrative policies that we just have to notify you a change was made or a revision was made, I'm notifying that we're going to do a complete comprehensive review of the policy manual, and if there are any title changes or designation changes, those are going to be made. And on the B policies, even to go and, like, if a title has changed, since it's a B policy, we have to bring every one of them back to you for you to approve. Now, this approval, I'm not asking you to, I'm not going to redesignate a person. If it says the president is responsible for something, then it's going to stay the president. But for example, as Dr. Lewis stated, if it says vice president of instruction, then we're going to be very careful with, is it more appropriate to say academic officer and maybe continuing education officer? Because right now those are two different people. In the future it could be one, but instead of having to go back every time, maybe we have to restructure or change titles, we are going to be more conscious about maybe doing designations that aren't necessarily in a person's title. Like, for example, my position is considered the compliance officer and the human resource officer, but it's not in my title. So where it's appropriate, where it says my title, I might put human resource officer or compliance officer. So that way, if for some reason it's not me or my title, it is going to be a specific designation. Then we'll have an index that says at this particular point in time, who is that designated officer. So that way it's clear to the person looking it up.
So any board policy, you're only changing the names and the titles, not so much a board policy?
No, it's just to clarify the personal with a title or with a designation. Instead of saying the Vice President of Instruction, then it could be substituted Chief Academic Officer or Chief Continuing Education Officer.
Call it
So
blanket acceptance. Wouldn't that apply to any board policy?
but I'm specifically asking for blanket approval just to change those titles, not to do anything else to the policies, just to change those specific. It's like a responsibility to change
You're not changing responsibility. You're changing, so it's what I would call a non-substantive. Right.
Yes,
Is that
just a title or a designation. Put the appropriate title or designation in that particular
And for
policy.
simplicity purposes, rather than try to list them all out, if we give you approval today, it just allows you to go through and only within the scope of what we're approving today to make those changes. Without bringing them to us every single one.
And if, in doing so, it looks like, okay, this is beyond the scope of what you're approving, we don't just need to change the title or the designation, it would be brought to you separately.
Will we see all changes after they're done?
That's my question.
When we think we're done, we can absolutely bring you the pre and post to show you the in work.
It's online. I mean, our policy manual's online.
Yeah, it's
But
micro.
the changes aren't. When you have the red line through the changes?
How many policies are we talking about? 30, 40, 50?
More.
No,
There are hundreds
no.
of pages that we have
No,
to go through. So that's why I was wanting this. I mean, we post it online, the policy manual's online, and once we're complete, I can let you know it's been complete, and it's very easy to go online and go through all the different policies.
This has been an issue, a concern since I got here to clean up the policy manual and to bring continuity and consistency to the areas of responsibility, and that's what this is. All the changes will be noted. We'll have them available for anyone who wants to look at it. We can even bring them back here if it makes sense to show the hundreds of pages and that sort of thing, and show them where they're redlined, and that they will be evidenced of where they came from, of where the changes came from. So we're not trying to do anything. We've been talking about this for 10 years, and whether we're going to outsource this or do this because it's so tedious and so laborious. This is our best. We think this is the best strategy to move ahead and to finally get to it without having to bring onesies and twosies or even dozens at a time to the board. Again, all of them will be preserved. Every change will be preserved and or redlined so that we can see where they're coming from. It's just to bring continuity to those policies, and it's especially important before we go into our reaffirmation process.
Well, it's also, like I said, it's also to be efficient to where, like you said, not bringing those policies back to the board every time we go through it and say, okay, these 60 policies all need a title change or a designation change. It would just be approval, just go and fix it to the appropriate title or designation, and it'll be noted in the policy manual online and move forward with it.
Ed, is your concern not knowing whether we're talking about 2 changes or 200 changes? I mean,
My concern is,
concerns we're
I
trying-
can see it afterwards and I can see it before, but I won't know the difference.
Unless it's redlined.
Right.
So what you're saying.
So,
That's a lot
Well,
of,
we don't redline it in what we post. The only time we redline is if we actually bring it to the board and they see the change. So the change would, I mean, it would be, like, for example, there's some references to provost, but we don't have a provost title anymore. So if you see Chief Academic Officer, that's where provost or a different VP title could have been. So it's those type of changes, not any other type of changes.
Primarily online.
microphone.
Sorry. Primarily online is where these changes are. They're on our policy manual,
Right, but
which is
yeah, right.
preserved online.
But we don't, but what's preserved is at a point in time when every year we archive the previous year's policy manual. So like now you see what was brought up, the 18-19 policy manual. The 17-18 is in archives. So the 17-18 is going to show what has not been cleared up yet, I guess you could say. The titles have not been changed. And then the 18-19 will have all the corrections in it.
Carol, you had
So, related to this, and maybe a way to clarify this, you referenced that you would create an index or a key of when you say Chief Academic Officer, that's this person now and what their title is. I think if we saw that and saw every place that you see compliance officer, not just for us, but for anybody who might want to look it up, because if you've got a generic title in there and you don't know who it corresponds to without that key, then you've got a group of policies that you don't know who are accountable for, either we or the public who are looking at them. So I think as part of this motion, it could be that we want to see that key and have that part of the policy manual and know that the key is going to be updated quarterly or within 5 working days of a new person, of somebody leaving or somebody coming on board. Somehow a proactive and knowing that the information is going to be up to date, that key is going to be important to how folks look up information and who's responsible for it. Because if there's a student grievance policy of some kind and it's got a generic title, but I'm a student, I don't know who I'm supposed to go to. That's a bad example, but
No, I
do you see what I'm
understand.
saying?
Yes, and what
That
could-
key's important.
Right, and
Or
what we
per-
could
or
do,
perhaps-
which would be more efficient, is we could do maybe like a hyperlink, which takes you straight to that key. We can embed it, or we can have it at the very front, like as an index page.
Susan?
Yes, we plan on doing that, yes.
Yeah, I want to make sure I'm hearing the same thing. I was thinking what you were saying was if we had a system of, we're changing provost to mean, throughout, we don't need to see every time that was done. But I think you've got a different issue.
Well, it's two things.
Okay.
There's a set of generic titles you're going to put in the policies. What does that mean?
And we don't need to see if that were changed
100 times.
I wouldn't need to see every time it would change, but just the fact that this title was always changed to this title would be helpful.
A cross-reference.
Right.
Sure.
Would that help satisfy with you?
That sounds like it would.
So it balances out, giving you all the freedom to
Yeah.
go do it without having your hands tied. but-
It was provost or this, and now it's this.
Is that doable, Tammy? You're looking,
Yes, and like I said, it could be two things. I mean, in some areas, it was vice president of instruction, but in that particular policy, is it appropriate to do academic officer and maybe continuing education officer? Because if it has to do with a student, it could involve both. Right now, it's two different people. So it would be putting that in. So where it would have been called vice president of instruction, now it's going to be called, and it could actually be 2 designations versus 1 designation. So those are going to be determined as we go through.
Kind of be whatever your search and replace is the way I would be doing it, is, what am I searching for and what am I replacing it with? But that
Sandra,
may
you
be
have a-
harder than.
So if you're going to change Dr. Silva's name, generic, on every time it says Mary's name, then you just write a little note, change everything that said Mary to Dr., or the other direction, Dr. Silva to 400 times. Okay, next little deal you did. I mean, that would be simple. Like, we don't want to go through 400 pages of, look, it changed from Dr. Silva to Mary, or whatever. Are there more than 25 places you're going to have to change?
Oh, yes.
oh, yeah.
Yes, that's just in one chapter. There'll probably be 25 places. So there are
Hundreds
hundreds.
and hundreds.
Places, but how many?
How many of them are
Designations.
the same thing that you're going to change?
Well, like, for example, there could be 3 to 4 title references for the position that relates to what Dr. Lewis is responsible for. So I can't just say that I'm going to go change the VP of instruction and tell it to change all of that to academic officer, because it used to be called VP instruction and student services. It used to be called provost. So there's just 4 things could actually end up being 1 designation. 4 different old titles could be 1 designation. Yes.
Yeah.
So you just list,
Yes.
any place you find this,
Well,
this is where it's going.
So effectively, I think what we're saying is, the new frameworks, you're trying to get down to 1 reference for each type of person or role.
1 reference or, yes.
Right, but you don't know whether it's coming from 1 place or it's coming from 4 or 5.
Right.
So we'd be looking at 5 going to 1, and 3 going to 1, and 2 going to 1, and,
It could be 1 going to 1.
yeah, something like that. So I think, so it's a more of a, sort of a guide of saying, how many got changed to be done. So,
It sounds right.
okay.
So
It
my
sounds
question-
right. So what I'm hearing you say then is, Dr. Lewis, we're picking on you, but anyways, she could have more than 1 title, correct? She could be the chief academic officer here, provost, No? Or are you
No,
just
we're going
talking
from a
about?
lot to a few.
We're going from a lot to to either a title or designation, so that, let's say that a title changes. Things happen, things change, restructuring, reorganization, that we don't have to go back to the policy manual and change it every time. That possibly could happen in the future. Someone will always be the academic officer. It's not necessarily tied to one title. Someone will always be student affairs officer. Someone will always be financial officer, human resource officer. Someone will have that designation. It may not necessarily be the same title from this year to the next 5 years, so that we don't have to keep coming back every time. If there are those changes, the designation is a designation. And then, like Regent Scott said, we'll do the key. And then the key will say, this year, this designation is Carol. Next year, the designation is Mark. Or 6 months later. Because we don't have people's names in our policies. The only place we're required to actually have a person's name is in our sexual violence, sexual assault policy, the VAWA policy. That you do have to actually put people's names in it. So that's the only place that we actually have a person's name.
It sounds a little confusing, but I trust that you know what you're doing.
So I have two questions, actually. One would be, I understand what we're doing, and I totally get it, but are we approving it for just this one time policy review? And if you want to do this again in the future, we would approve it again? Or are you asking for in perpetuity to be able to do this without coming to the board?
No, it's just one time to do this review. I'm hoping that this will actually, we'll design it to where we don't have to keep coming back for any of those type of changes. So it's not in perpetuity, no. It's just this one time to do this one review. If there's something that comes up that it looks like it goes beyond a title or designation change, that would be brought back to you individually.
Okay.
As we do the review, if something comes up, then it would be brought back separately.
My second question is a little longer term look at, is there a regular, for each policy, is there a 3-year or a 5-year window that it gets reviewed in, so that this kind of stuff gets picked up as we're going forward and doesn't become an issue? And for all the other reasons that a policy ought to be reviewed on a periodic basis, and that there's a record of that. And
do we have a formal schedule? No, we do not. It's informally.
Policy management, yes. The policy management software and system is the other thing that we're looking at along the way.
It's come up in the board self-evaluation review. We've asked them to come up with a policy management system so that we would always know where we stand in policy review. So it's a great question. So everyone's clear as mud on what we're doing.
Clear as mud.
Who wants to make the motion?
It's going to be this time only, a blanket review to.
Microphone, please, Carol. Thank you.
This review only, a blanket authorization to change the generic titles throughout the policy manual. You're going to provide us with a report back, very general terms on what you changed to what, and you're going to include a key so that folks know the various compliance officer equals this title during this fiscal year. So those are going to be the deliverables. What do you think from a time frame? 60 days, 90 days, 120 days? What are we talking about?
We are probably talking about at least 90 days.
At least 90
My
days.
goal is to, by the time we leave for winter break, sometimes once you fully get into a project, it might.
So we anticipate a
more.
report back in our January board meeting?
Yes.
Would be sufficient
And
time
we
for
can
that.
put that on our pending list, and if we need more time, we need more time. Okay, great.
So those
Do we have
caveats, I so move
we have
the
a motion
blanket
from Carol?
authorization.
Second.
We have a second from Sandra. Any further discussion by the Regents? Any public comment on this item? Does everyone understand this item? Okay, all in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. I will open it up now to general public comments. Would anyone like to address the board at this point? Okay, hearing none. If you will allow me to read the closed session language, please, before you get up from your seats. We will go into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071, consultation with legal counsel regarding pending or contemplated litigation or claims or settlement offer with possible discussion and action in open session, and the seeking of legal advice from counsel on pending legal or contemplated matters or claims with possible discussion and action in open session. So at 3:08, we'll go to closed session, and Regents, as the room is being cleared, we'll take a brief break. We are coming out of closed session at 4:09 p.m. with no action. I'm going to go backwards on the agenda just briefly and open up general public comments briefly to see if there's anyone else that would like to address the board at this time. Dr. Dami?
Mr. Chair, board members, 10 years ago, LULAC Council 1 and a committee of 3 people along with NAACP got together and we decided what was going to take the community up to the next level. We started planning our first health fair. Now, the health fair and its planning took about 2 or 3 months. And one of the main issues that we had was venue. One faction wanted to have it at Oldville Williams, but we knew that that wasn't going to be large enough. So when we asked Del Mar College to step up to the plate, they took it. Our first health fair was at Center for Economic Development. And right away, we outgrew that venue. So the next step was, okay, where do we go from there? Of course, it was quite obvious we would utilize the West Campus because of the health sciences. And so because of that, we had 9 wonderful years there at the West Campus. But the point I wanted to make was that, you know, Del Mar stepped up to the plate over and over again. I wanted to commend the staff in the committees, the students who continuously were there for us every year. It was Del Mar that actually made the health fair, because this is something not any individual or any single group could make. I want to commend Del Mar College for stepping up to the plate over and over again. But yet also, I'm going to go one step further. At every committee meeting, there was one individual that always stepped up to the plate and took charge. Without this individual, a lot of what we accomplished would not have taken place. We were fortunate that this year we had the health fair at the Dome. And you know what? It was perfect, because normally it took 2 buildings and me running back and forth through the whole course of a morning just trying to keep continuity between one building and another. This was perfect. It all fell under one building. So, as president of LULAC Council 1, I can give a presidential commendation to one of your own. She isn't here. She was here earlier. So I'm going to read it, and we'll leave it up to Mark to give it to her. LULAC Council 1 Presidential Award of Excellence presented to Dr. Shannon Idioga. For your exemplary leadership and vision, you have truly exemplified the tenets of LULAC, building community partnerships to advance education, health, and the quality of life in others. She came and she stepped up to the plate over and over again. It's not about just Del Mar and the students, but also the community as well, and she brought that forward time and time and again. So this presidential commendation goes to Dr. Shannon Idioga. And she's not here, so.
Hey, Shannon.
Mark, I'll leave it to you so you can give it to her.
Dr. Dami. Thank you, appreciate it. And for all your hard work on it too, over all the years, and again this year. Thank you.
I love it. I love it.
Good. One of just a number of things that Dr. Adami does for our community. Thank you again. Any other general public comments? Hearing none, we'll move into calendaring. In Regents, we have a lot of things to go over on our calendar, so be sure you grab the little sheet, and we're going to add some things too. So you'll want to mark them down on this as we go through them, and then be sure you go back and put it on your personal calendar. This is for, obviously, September. Today is the 11th. Friday, you know, there's the strategic planning retreat from 9 to 12. Who is not going to be there on Friday? Oh, well, you're not, and Dr. Adami, you're not. You're at a conference, and you're not sure yet.
I have an angiogram on Thursday, and
Okay.
if I have to go by ambulance, I'll go Friday.
Okay, there
I'll
you
try
go.
it.
Okay,
That
good.
should be all right.
So we think we'll have a quorum, that's good. Then next week, I think everyone's been scheduled in for their South Side meetings for schematic design, sorry. I want to remind you that on the 19th is an event that we've been hosting for several years here, the Dr. Hector P. Garcia Day Luncheon. And Elva, do you want to say anything about that event? I know you've worked on it. Microphone, please, if you don't mind. Just, here we go, you're on.
I think all of you have received an invitation. I think Ms. Claudia sent you an email, and I also passed out some invitations. Starts at 11:30, and I know some of you members are not going to be able to be here. But to the rest of you, I'd like to invite all the board members and bring your wives or husbands too. So, and some of the administration has already been invited. It's Wednesday, September the 19th. It's the State Recognition Day for Dr. Hector Garcia, and the event is over at the West Campus at the Dome.
Great. Thank you, Elva, for your work on that every year. Moving into October, or maybe I should say, is there anything else in September for calendaring?
On the Southside meetings, I know I signed up for one day, but I'm not sure which one.
We'll get Natalie to get back with you and confirm that after the meeting. That'd be great. Then in October, of course, our board day is on the 9th. We don't know yet whether there'll be a workshop in the morning. There may very well be, so hold from 10 a.m. on to 10 to 5 if you don't mind. It will be, it says schematic design presentation approval, but it will also be the rest of the full master plan for the phases after phase 1. And I think that'll be a pretty exciting thing for you to see how they contextually think that the campus can grow over the next few decades. So that's great. The 19th, Mary's already told us a little bit earlier about Over the Edge, the VIP reception from 5 to 7 at Holiday Inn Courtyard. And then the actual event and the Repelling fundraiser is on the 20th. And if you don't want to go over the edge, but you want to ensure that Mark goes over the edge or some of the others, you can certainly donate in his name. He'd love that. The following week, the ACCT conference is the 24th. Once, and I'm going to address this to Natalie, once we figure out if that on that original calendar for the bond presentation, there was something on the October 3rd. So if that's not us, that's fine. But if it is meant to be Regents, most of them will be gone. So we won't worry about that. In November, number 6 is Election Day. We'll remind you of that. And we have one of our Regents up for re-election, Senator Messbarker. And then that Friday is the next strategic retreat, the follow-up to the one that we're having this Friday. And that was presented by Dr. Christina Wilson earlier. Block out from 9 to 3, or if you're like me, just block out the day and we'll firm up the timeframes. But we'll be meeting that day. And that'll be, from what we saw earlier, a little bit more nuts and bolts than what Friday's more of an orientation, big pictures, examples.
Much more brainstorming on this one.
Yeah, this will be more brainstorming. Okay. The 13th is the board day, and so that would be, again, as always, hold open from 10 to 5 just in case. The 16th was likely the day in which we will canvass the votes from the election. It does not require it being a board meeting, a called meeting, but it does require 2 regents to be there to witness the canvassing. And so Augie will work with some of you to ensure that we have canvassing, and probably better that it's not one of the 3 that are up for election. So that means we'd have from the other 7 of us, or 6 of us rather, need to be sure we have 2 of us there. Following week is Thanksgiving, of course. And then the last week in November, on the 29th, is the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board Leadership Conference in Austin, I believe.
Correct.
And some of you have already signed up for that. It's maybe not too late if someone's still interested, but see Delia if you want to work on that. December, I don't know if these will make, but there was 2 meetings on the 4th and the 5th related to design development. I guess we'll find out more about those if those apply to the board. Board meeting on the 11th, again, hold open from 10 in the morning, just in case, all the way through to the afternoon. And that's the day that we will swear in the new board members and elect officers and change the board officers. Fall graduation at American Bank Center is the 14th. Is that right? I'm getting some. Oh, so it's not Friday the 14th. We moved it to a Thursday.
The 13th?
13th.
Okay, so that's a good catch. Be sure you mark that. Do we, probably premature to ask you who the graduation is?
It is. We don't have a speaker just yet.
Okay, great. And then the winter break begins on the 19th of December. And if this is a reminder, if nothing else, it's time to start your holiday shopping. Yes, ma'am.
As if y'all didn't already have enough going on, I just would remind you of one thing and then just share one new thing with you. We are working with the Richters. They're actually out of the country until the end of the week, but we wanted to have a little media event to chronicle the progress we've made on the General Academic and Music Building. And the date that works for the contractor and the architects and some of the key players is Thursday, October 18th in the morning, probably around 10 o'clock. Another 30, 45-minute media conference, if that works into your schedule. And this was on the proposal for the legislative session agenda, but just to make sure that you saw it, at the bottom of your proposal cover memo were some key dates for the legislature. And one of them that I know you want to put on there is January 30th is the Texas Community College Day at the Capitol, where we do try to make sure as many representatives of the 50 community colleges as possible do join us on January 30th in Austin. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other calendaring items?
When is our holiday celebration? Our Christmas holiday or?
We don't have that set yet. We'll set that in another few weeks. Ms. Delia's nodding to me right now, so we'll have to check a few other calendaring items to make sure, but we'll get that out there as soon as possible. I do have a weather update.
Sure, please.
Just want everyone to know that we're going to be meeting immediately after this meeting, the executive team and I, to further our planning for the impending weather events that are out there in the Gulf currently. There's two situations right now that we're looking at, and our team has been mobilized. Plans are in place for things as soon as this weekend. There's some what we're hearing is that there's some serious amounts of rain coming our way, probably, and we're going to be ready for that. And then also a little bit longer term, there's another disturbance out in the Gulf that is tracking in a very similar fashion that we need to be prepared for. Probably something another 10 days out or so, but still, I just want everyone to know that we're working on that for our emergency services kind of meetings. So that's it. We'll be back in touch.
Any other calendaring? If not, we are adjourned at 4:22 p.m. Thank you very much.